Thanks for tuning in. Glad to have you back. I'm Jimmy. If you haven't been here before, this is Making It Work. Stay tuned. All right, what we have here is a 2011 or so Nissan Altima. Customer was driving down the road and all of a sudden lost power and the cluster went blank. So obviously I'm gonna lean towards an electrical problem, like a connection, power, ground, something or other. I'm gonna start this thing up. You see the cluster stays completely blank. The key light's on, the cluster's off, the blinkers work. No tach, no gas gauge, no temp gauge. When you push the gas, the engine barely does anything. There's something very strange going on with this bad mamma jamma. I got to get the old launch torque gauge to connect. I had it on the BMW. Came in for a misfire. I couldn't get it to act up. So I got to get it out of that screen somehow and into a Nissan. It's very upset right now. Let's come back in a second. I went out and took a quick look around under the hood. Tested the battery. Looked for any loose cables or connections on the terminals and the main connections. Make sure all that stuff's good. You know, start with the simple stuff always. Anytime I'm going to do a diagnosis, I try to look at the battery and the battery connections first. Because if you don't have good connections to your battery, you can have all kinds of odd problems. Like, you know, a cluster that's dead and no throttle response. The throttle works. The engine picks up speed, just not very much. The car has a hard time getting to 40 miles per hour. So, let's see what kind of codes we have. There's probably a module not communicating. It's possible the gas pedal works through the cluster, or, well, that's going to be on a direct CAN line, on a high-speed CAN. The cluster probably takes information from the ECM, and the ECM takes information from the pedal. So it's possible that the cluster being dead is a factor in pulling the CAN line down, things like that. There's all kinds of possibilities. It's all hearsay until we figure it out. See which path we're going to go down. That's what the codes are for, really. The codes don't tell you what's wrong. The codes take you down the path. Something that kind of surprises me when companies like AutoZone do free code pulls and sell you parts based on the codes. They might fix it 6 out of 10 times, but those other 4 times you spent money on a part you didn't need, so you need to really figure it out before you buy anything, right? I'm going to do a full system diagnosis, health report, Altima sedan, 4-door. Yes, I know it's going to take some time. I'm not going to make you guys watch this whole thing. We'll come back after this is done in about 5 minutes. I think it'll take 3 to 5 minutes. I got your butt on camera, Bill. Get out of the way. Oh, we got TCM codes, ECM codes. It's been 2 minutes and we're only 11% of the way. Alright, that wasn't too bad. About 3 or 4 minutes. We got a PO705 transmission range sensor A, PO463 fuel level sensor, BCM, vehicle speed, B2562 low voltage, PNP clutch switch, ignition relay, tire sensor codes, vehicle speed signal error, TM range sensor, up-down shift switch, P1701 TCM, passed. No other codes. ABS, instrument cluster normal. That's kind of surprising because the instrument cluster is not normal. Very interesting. Alright, that's very strange. What I really want to look at is the low voltage and ignition relay. It says passed, but there's something going on, I think, in that area. I might get a wiring diagram and see what feeds the cluster, what feeds the all the modules are communicating. I really didn't expect that. I thought I was going to have module TCM code P1701. That's kind of strange. Passed. Alright, I want to find out where the ignition relay might be, and I'm going to take a look in the fuse box too. It says the cluster is communicating and there's no codes, which is really weird. Alright, let's go pull a wiring diagram and I'm going to check some fuses. We'll take you guys along for a ride. I pulled up the data for the cluster real quick. Everything shows 0, -40 for the temperature meter, so that's obviously not right. Fault code should probably be no codes, no DTCs detected. Now I'm going to go out, I'm going to go directly into TCM and see what that says. I still haven't headed inside yet, but I wanted to look at this really quick with you guys. Let's look at the TCM and see if its data looks odd. Main signals. Select all. Accelerator position sensor 1, 0. Transmission temperature 116. Brake switch. That reads. Engine speed reads. That looks fairly normal. Now I'm going to go out to the PCM was the other one that had codes. Or they call it an ECM because it's a separate. Oh, I don't know what that even means. I've never seen that before. 267, 1123. It's communicating, building data, read data stream. See how normal it looks. Air fuel ratio sensor is doing something. Fuel pump relay on, of course it's running. AC pressure switch off, but the AC is on. That's kind of odd. Air fuel sensor 1 absent. Engine oil temp minus 58 degrees. Throttle P sensor 2 nothing. Throttle position sensor B2 nothing. Those hashtags usually mean it really is unhappy about what it sees, or there's no data input. Usually would display a 0 like this. Enough wasted time. Now I'm going to follow through on going in and look at wiring diagrams and seeing what all these modules have in common as far as powers and ground. Alright, got me a wiring diagram on this here Nissan. It's the 4 main fuses that power all my goodies up is going to be 11, 4, 19, and 3. But the fuse box lid in the dash is not labeled, but it says fuse block junction box behind left end of dash. So I know I got 4 10 amp fuses I got to look for. Now what I can do is I can see that the combination meter is powered by fuse 11 and by fuse 4. It goes right to the combination meter. So I'm going to check those combination meter fuses first, and we'll see where we go from there. Meter 10 amp should be the 4th fuse in the fuse box. 1, 2. Oh, that's not good. 1, 2, 3. There is no combination meter fuse in the fuse box. Well, let's see if we can. I got a couple fuses right, y'all. Pop some fuses in where they're missing. See what happened. I don't know what happened, but looks like this fuse is missing. Cluster's out. Put a fuse in here. It's not the right fuse for this fuse box. It takes the different. Oh, look at that. So the customer was concerned his dash stopped working because he took the fuse out, I guess. Well, I'm going to go ahead and check for, there's another fuse, 19, fuse 3, and we haven't even looked at fuse 11 yet. Wondering how they're going to be labeled. Fuse 3 will be labeled mirror. It says inside mirror. You see right here, fuse 3 goes right to the inside mirror, power and ground. That's a 10 amp fuse. So that fuse was probably fuse 4 if it goes 1, 2, 3, 4 in order, and then I'll have to figure that out, which one goes where, because there's probably a couple of fuses missing for some reason. It's got a looks like an aftermarket radio in there, so maybe someone borrowed fuses to get the radio working, and I'm gonna have to put the correct fuses in once I figure out what's missing where. There's 5 empty slots here and 1 empty slot there. Normally if they don't have the options, the tabs won't be in the fuse box. So I'm going to definitely have to do a little more research and see what these fuse numbers are. We'll go from there, but let's see if get that combination meter fuse in there. See if it's got better throttle response. Tac's working, gauges are working. Well, very strange. I thought it was going to be an exciting video for you guys figuring this out, but looks like it's going to be a missing fuse. I'm going to have to look and make sure those other empty fuse slots are supposed to be empty, but we'll take a look and see if we have any codes in here. I'm going to clear DTCs. Transmission range sensor A, P0705. Alright. No DTC. This turned out to be a pretty quick diagnosis, so I'm going to go through a couple things here and and make sure the other things are good to go. But it looks like most of the other codes are gone. I got my throttle response and my cluster working. 79,000 miles on this car. The car's pretty clean, just the wheels look kind of silly. They didn't really fit the car to me, but the car's pretty clean. Alright, let's go ahead inside and see what we can find on the fuse locations on a P0705. Got a fuse location page, and no fuses were missing. Everything looks pretty good other than the fuse 4. And the fuse 4 also powers up the Prindle. According to the flow chart, this fuse 4 powers up the transmission range switch, and that P0705 has to do with the transmission range switch, but it will not let me clear it. Let's see if how the transmission indicator works when I shift it from park to reverse. That's correct. Neutral, drive, manual mode, 2, 1. I guess you have to be moving. It won't let you pick a gear other than 1 when you're not moving. Neutral, reverse, park. Huh. So it appears to be working. I can feel the transmission going in and out of park, reverse, and drive, and neutral. But I still have a hard code. I got my throttle response. Got my cluster working. I did find a steering lock fuse missing out under the hood as well. I went ahead and put a fuse in the steering lock fuse location, but the steering lock still doesn't work when I shut the car off. It's a big thing on these, the steering lock modules. They go bad, and I'm wondering if someone pulled that fuse out of it or bypassed it, but I would think there would be codes for that. Anytime a car is a push button start or smart button, whatever they want to call it, it usually has a steering wheel lock for theft protection and things like that. And these Nissans are terrible for that. A lot of them, when that steering lock's bad, you can just smack the bottom of the steering column and the car will start, because it won't let it start unless the steering column is locked. Very strange. I'm going to look at the freeze frame on this. It's very possible that not having a fuse in that location caused some kind of a glitch in the matrix. So I really want to find out if there's a way I can do like a Prindle switch relearn kind of thing and see if that'll fix it. Another option that I'm probably going to end up taking here is sometimes on something like this, rather than going around in circles and trying to spend more time on it figuring it out, the car came in for the cluster not working and no power, and those are fixed because the fuses were missing, which is really strange. Maybe someone was trying to diagnose the Prindle originally and pull the fuses out and move them around trying to fix that problem and cause another problem because they didn't know what they were doing. They probably don't have their own YouTube channel. Anyway, I'm gonna go see if they want to chase this Prindle code. It's not even putting the check engine light on, and it seems to be functioning correctly. It's kind of strange. So there may be a signal wire that goes to the ECM to tell the Prindle position to it, but the transmission's seeing it and it's happy. It's not setting a code. So it may be like a wire problem, broken wire between the Prindle switch and the ECM. But I think what I'll do is I'll find out how serious they are about that, if they want to fix it or not. Got to take the air box out to get to it. I put a long-handled hose removal tool in there and wiggled the connector and try to see if the code would go away, but I had no results from that. So it's definitely plugged in all the way. I gave it a good tug, make sure it was plugged in all the way. Could be a bad contact or a wire between it and the PCM. So let's see what else they want to do on this. That was a real simple one so far. First easy car all week. Appreciate you guys. You're awesome. See you in the next video. Thanks, guys.